Okay guys, so today we're going to go over a little bit of vocabulary. We're doing a social studies lesson, and it's going to be like a combination of what all of you are learning in your social studies classes so far, and then some new information. So these are words over here that we're going to be learning today. They're going to be in the article we read, so we're not going to worry about those yet. Well, I want to talk about some of these words that you might be familiar with. Let's start with equal rights, because I think that's one you all know. What do you think it means? Aiden?
Everyone has an equal, freedom.
Okay, the equal freedom. So what does it mean to be equal?
Same.
The same. Very good. So we know what equal rights is. Let's put a little check by that. That's equal rights. What about diversity? Anybody know what diversity is? That's a tricky one. Aiden?
Like, you divide each group of people.
Well, that's more like segregate, which we're going to talk about. But diversity is like saying that it's okay for all of us to be what? Not the same. Different. So it means that we're all different and that's okay, right? Diversity, like if we have a diverse school, it means everybody is a little bit different. People have different languages, different cultures, right? And we can all relate to that. So that's what diversity is. What about privileges? That's a tricky one. Wow, Guadalupe.
For something?
Yeah, kind of like that. Privileges is like, I'll give it to you in a sentence and you tell me what you think. Like if I say, it's a privilege for you to earn bucks in this school. Does that sound like a good thing or a bad thing?
Good thing.
A good thing, right? And special privileges are like if you do something great, you maybe get to go on a school trip or something like that, right? So it's something you earn. When you earn it, it means you work for it. Okay? Can everybody say privileges?
Privileges.
Great. And then the last one is really important, civil rights. That's going to be a big topic in our article. What does that mean? This is something they talk about in social studies. Do you have an idea, Guadalupe?
Like you get individual rights, like going somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. So civil rights is like what you have, your freedoms, right? Like, can somebody give me an example? Freedom of?
Like, go to shop.
Yeah, so that's like freedom to...
to buy stuff.
Freedom to buy stuff, okay, Guadalupe.
Crossing the border.
Crossing the border, okay. There's also something called freedom of speech, right? Freedom of speech means you can say what you want in this country and they can't hold it against you, right? That's one example, right? Your right to stand up for what you believe in. And we do that a lot in this school, right? So then these are the words that we're going to focus on today. So I will show you. I have cards for you. Today we're going to be reading an article called The Little Rock Nine. But before we read it, these are some words that I want everybody to know, and you get to hang on to that. So you can look at that, and there's like a little picture to help everybody if you're not so sure what it means. So the first word is integrate. Can everyone say integrate?
Integrate.
And who would like to read that? Who thinks they could read that definition? Bosita?
To include or allow people of all races.
Yeah, so that means, integrate means that no matter what, it's different. Everybody's different. We come together. So integrating, if you look at that picture, what do you see? It's small, but what do you see? Go ahead, Aiden.
Like different people holding like different colored puzzle.
Yes, they're each holding a different colored puzzle piece, and what are they doing with them, Bo?
They're putting it together.
They're putting it all together. So it's saying that we can put all these different things together and we can be one. What about the next word, harassed? Can everyone say that?
Harass.
What does that mean? Who wants to read that? Go ahead, Guadalupe.
Treated rudely or cruelly or bullied over and over again.
And the picture is showing no harassment. So you can hear that in schools and in work. You don't want to bully somebody, right? You hear that all the time here. So it's not a nice thing to do. What about cruel? That might be a word that you've heard. Aiden?
Causing pain or suffering without feeling concern.
So what does it mean if somebody's cruel to you?
Like mean.
Mean, right? If somebody's mean to you, and the picture is just an angry face. And then the last word, which I mentioned before. Who knows how to say that word? Bo?
Separated.
Segregated. Very good, though. Can everyone try that?
Segregated.
Segregated. That's a tricky one. Go ahead, Bo.
Set apart from others. It's
Isolated.
isolated. Not equal.
Not equal. So integrate means come together. And what does segregate mean?
Not
push apart, kind of, right? That's like if you look at the picture, right, it shows everybody is together. There's like green pieces, red pieces, and yellow pieces, and they said, okay, all the green over here, all the red over there, all the yellow over here. Which do you think sounds better, integrating or segregating?
Integrating.
Why?
Because
like everyone's equal and they're one part.
Yeah, and why should that be? Why should we all be integrated? Why should it be diverse? Why is that a good thing?
Because people could help each other.
Yeah, we can learn from each other, right? So you're going to hold on to that. I'm going to give everybody this article. And the article is called, this is the cover of the packet, and it says The Struggle to Go to School. And there's a lot of articles in here, but I'm going to give everybody just the copy of this one, which is called The Little Rock Nine. So I'm going to give everybody a copy. You can go ahead and look at that picture. And I want you to look at the caption. So a caption is this little thing in the corner of the picture. It says, U.S. troops escort African American students from Central High School in 1957. What do we know? So 1957, was that recently or a long time ago? It was a pretty long time ago. What do we know about African Americans a long time ago?
They were in slavery.
They were in slavery. Anything else?
They
Aiden?
were poor.
Okay, because they were forced to be slaves, right? Were they treated as an equal to everybody, or were they segregated?
they're separated.
They were segregated, right? So a long time ago, they had schools, and they said, this school is for people who are colored. That's what they called African American people. And then they said, and everybody else can go here. They have to go to this school. And they didn't help them as much, and they made them drink from separate water fountains. Is that a nice thing to do?
No,
No, why not?
because you're being mean to them. And you're not giving them freedom.
Yeah, they're allowed to have freedom, right? So the only reason that they got their freedom is because people like the Little Rock Nine, which we're going to learn about today, they fought for their rights. They used their freedom of speech, and they said, we're going to fight for what we believe we should have. Why should we have less? That's not fair, right? It's like being bullied. That's not okay. And they said, we're going to fight for that. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to ask you to just keep this next to you for now. And it's just a 5W chart. It says who, what, where, when, why. And we're going to work on, you're welcome, we're going to fill it out. I think we might just fill it out together since it's such a small group today. And we are going to then put it all together after. So I'm just going to put this up here for now. Let's move this one over a little. Okay. So while we're reading, I want you to be thinking about, because we're reading it to learn, and I want you to be thinking about who is this article about, right? What is happening? So for now, you can just hang on to the pencil, but we're going to fill it out together, okay? The Little Rock Nine, so I want you to follow along. 60 years ago, 9 African American students made history in Little Rock, Arkansas. Arkansas, if you look at that map, does everybody see the map? Put your finger on the map. Arkansas is a state in the United States, which is where we live. That's our country. Okay. On September 4th, 1957, Elizabeth Eckford woke up feeling nervous about her first day of school. It was no ordinary first day. Elizabeth and 8 other teens were going to be the first African American students to attend Central High School in Little Rock, Arkansas. These students would later become known as the Little Rock Nine. Why do you think they got that name, Little Rock Nine?
Because just almost 9 kids.
9 kids, and why Little Rock?
And they're African.
Not because of them, but because of the name of where they are.
The city.
Yeah, the city. Very good, Eden. Because they're in Arkansas, and that's the place in Arkansas that they are is called Little Rock. Like, where are we right now? We're in Staten Island. So we're in Staten Island, New York. They're in Little Rock, Arkansas. Like Aiden said, it's the name of the city. They never made it to the building that day. Elizabeth was then 15 years old, and she was met at the school by an angry crowd. People in the crowd didn't think that the black students should go into the same schools as the white kids. The mob screamed, and Elizabeth got spit at her. I was afraid for my life, recalls Elizabeth. How do you think she's feeling right now?
Scared.
Scared, nervous. Do you think that what they were doing was fair?
No.
No.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, why? So, if other cultures went to if like other people are black, so they can't go to the same school as the white people go.
That was how it was a long time ago. Isn't that unfair?
Isn't it? Doesn't it say? It's only African people.
Well, that's a very good question. Yes, at that point, there really weren't that many other people there, so that's why that's all they're talking about. And then later, as it got more integrated and more people came here, that's why now we have such a diverse school, right? And such diverse neighborhoods, because there's so many different cultures. And now we're a lot more accepting of that, which is so important, because like you said, we can learn from each other, right? So did we come a long way from when this article happened, when this happened? We came a long way, right? Thank goodness. And we still have to come a long way. We still have to make sure that that's true. Yes?
Are these kids still alive?
Well, this was 1957, and we're in 2018, so even though it was a long time ago, it really wasn't that long ago. So if they're alive, they would be, like, a lot older now. Like, probably older than even your grandparents at this point. Right? That makes sense? Okay. Okay. A photo of Elizabeth was walking through... Oh, no, I think I skipped a part. Elizabeth was shaking with fear, but she kept walking. Troops armed with rifles stood near the school's entrance. She thought they were there to protect her, but instead the troops stopped her and the other black students from entering the school. A photo of Elizabeth walking through the crowd ran in the newspaper across the country. That's the photo shown on the cover of this magazine. So when I showed you the cover before, that's the photo. Many people were angry about the way the Little Rock Nine had been treated. Their struggle to go to school became a key event in the civil rights movement. So civil rights, which is what led to all our freedoms, that was the right for African Americans to be treated equally as everyone else. That's what the civil rights movement was. And it had a lot of people. You've all learned about Martin Luther King, right? We have a day for him. He's one of the people who fought for the rights. But so are the Little Rock Nine. There were a lot of people. You might have read about Rosa Parks, too. That sounds a little familiar. So there were many people who had to fight. It wasn't just one fight. It was so much fighting for a long time. That was the period in the 1950s and 60s. So the 1950s and 60s, it wasn't that civil rights were given to these people until around 1960, a little after that. And that's about like maybe 60 years ago almost now. So if that's 60 years ago and they were 15, they would only be 75. That's not that old, right? So they probably still are alive, right, Eden? So that's a very interesting fact. When many African Americans worked hard to end the unjust laws based on the color of people's skin. Should anyone be judged based on how they look? No. We learned that it's so important to treat everybody equally no matter what their language or how they speak or anything. Yes, Belle?
Yesterday, in Spanish, there's an artist called Fernando something. And he went to the church, and in the church there's like pictures that are on the walls, and they were drawn bigger. So he's an artist. Then he draw the pictures bigger, and yesterday, Miss Senior, we just said the size and the color doesn't matter. It's about your personality.
Yeah, what's inside? I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Belle. So we're not going to read the other half yet. I want us to stop here. I want you to put the paper in front of you, and together we're going to fill it out. So far, because it might change, who is this article about? You can just throw your name on the top there.
The little Rock Nine.
Good. The Little Rock Nine. And this doesn't have to be perfect because this is just for us to organize our ideas. Who can tell me what? Read underneath what? What does it say there? Go ahead, Eden.
What is important or are we learning?
Yeah, what are we learning or what is important here? Go ahead, Eden.
That the Little Rock Nine fought for their freedom.
Good. The Little Rock Nine fought for their freedom. What did we learn this freedom is called?
Civil rights.
Good, Aiden. Civil rights. Take your time. So this is a good way for us to organize our idea before we write about what we've read. what's the next one on there? Bo?
Where does it take place? Happen.
Yeah, so where is this? Remember what we said. Look at the map over there. It'll remind you.
Little Rock.
Little Rock, Arkansas. Can everyone say Arkansas?
Arkansas.
Where is Arkansas? What did I say? Does anybody remember?
It's
It's
in
in
United States.
It's one of the what?
State.
One of the 50 states, right? So where does it take place? The way that we write a city and then the state, we write Little Rock, comma, and then we write the name, Arkansas. And Arkansas is a funny word because it has S at the end that you don't say. We don't say Arkansas, we say Arkansas. It's a tricky one. Now the next one is when, and this article is a great article because if you look at that beginning part, right where it starts, they actually tell you exactly when.
Yeah, it's just over here.
And in the picture too. So look at that first sentence right over here. And what does it say, Guadalupe?
September 4, 1957.
So it actually gave us the day and everything. September 4th,
1957.
1957.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So the African American students didn't. So they could go to school before 1957.
They went to school, but they had to go to a separate school. They weren't allowed to go to the school where all of the white people at the time were going. They were segregated, and they had their own everything. They were not
So
allowed to get the same education.
Before 1957, they were separated too.
They were separated all before that. So it wasn't until then, and we're in 2018. So 1960 to 2018 would be 48 years ago. Plus another 3 would be 51. So this is 51 years ago, which that's a long time, but if you think about everything that you learn in school, and especially in social studies, sometimes we learn about things that happened like in the 1700s, which is hundreds of years ago. Is 51 hundreds of years ago? No, right? Some of your parents might be close to 51, right? So like I said, if they were 15 plus 51, they're about in their 70s now. So these people, they are still alive. So this is still very recent in terms of history, right? History is usually a very long time ago. And it's kind of like shocking because you think about it and you say, wow, that's why it's so important to still fight. Now everybody seems to be treated more equally, and that's really great, but we have to still fight. Even if you're just a boy or a girl, or if you speak a different language, we want to make sure that we celebrate that because it's amazing to be different. If we were all the same, wouldn't it be boring? Yeah, I think so. So the last part is just why. Why is it important, or why do you think the author wrote this? Guadalupe?
They wrote it because, like, some African people can't have equal rights like other people.
Right, so this was a big thing. They couldn't have equal rights before. This is very good. You want to add on, Aiden?
To have to show how we got our freedom from.
Awesome. To show how we got where we are today, right? So the author wrote it to show how African Americans, and we don't want to say earned, we want to say fought, because they fought hard, fought for their rights. I'm just going to take this down for you, this little one, because we're just going to start something together. When you're done, you could just put your pencil down so I know you're ready. Now, we didn't even finish the article. We didn't get to finish it. But I want to do something before we finish it, just based on this half, because this is going to help you with your writing and your reading also. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to use this organizer to kind of put our ideas together. So the first thing that we said was, who is it about? The Little Rock Nine. So I want to kind of put it all together in a big paragraph, like summarize our idea. What does it mean to summarize? Aiden?
Right, what the passage is about.
Yeah, why do we read this? What is this all about? We want to use full sentences. This was just ideas, and now we want to put it all together. So I wrote the title. I'm going to get us started. I'm going to say the article. You always want to say the name. What was the name of the article?
The Little Rock.
Good. The article, comma, the Little
Rock
Rock 9.
By.
Ooh, that's a good idea. By. Who was it by? We have to kind of go to the cover for that. So this was actually by Scholastics. Scholastics is that reading company. Sometimes you get books you could order from there. By Scholastics was about the group, the Little Rock 9, right? That's the name of the article, but it's also the name of who it's about. The Little Rock 9. Okay, did we say who?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to put a check. What was happening?
They fought for their civil rights.
Very good. This group was fighting
For their freedom.
for their freedom.
So.
For their freedom, we could say, or,
I thought was fighting is right now. I thought we had to put in the past tense.
like, fought. So when we wrote it here, we could say they fought. But in the article, the way that we're talking about it like when we just read the article. So in this article, what was happening? They were fighting. We could also say they fought, right? Because I see what you're saying. But because I said this word, what's this word? Was. What does that tell you? It's past tense. Very good. This group was fighting for their freedom or their civil rights. Wow, you guys are great at this. Okay, so I said who, I said what.
Where?
Where? Where were they?
Little
Little
Rock,
Rock.
Arkansas.
How could I write that in a sentence? Go ahead, Bo.
Never mind.
Go ahead, Aiden. It's okay.
They fought their civil right in the city called Little Rock in the state
Good.
Arkansas.
They fought. That was awesome, Aiden. They fought for these rights in the city of Little Rock.
Arkansas.
We could even say which is in, where is it?
Arkansas.
Arkansas, or you can say the state of Arkansas. However you would want to say that would be fine. Okay, when?
In September 4th, 1957.
So you know what I want to do? I don't even want to put a period here. I want to make it one sentence. I want to say they fought for these rights in the city of Little Rock, which is in Arkansas. What can I put here?
In
In 1957, or what if I want to...
4th, 1957.
Okay, so what word could I put here before I say September 4th? Because you really can say in September 4th. On September 4th. Awesome. 1957. Done. Okay, what's next, guys? Last one.
Why?
Why did they fight it? Guadalupe, can you give it to me in a full sentence?
To show how African Americans fought their rights.
Can I start that sentence with to show, or is there another way we could start it to make it flow? Think about what the question is and restate it. Look under why. Hang on, let's give Guadalupe a minute.
It's important to show how African Americans fought for their rights.
This was important. What word am I going to put here? What's a word that we use to say why?
Because
This was important because it shows how...
African Americans fought for their rights.
Awesome, guys. We're going to read this together, and then we're going to wrap it up, and we'll finish the article another time. So let's put our eyes up here. Everybody read it with me. The Little Rock 9. The article, The Little Rock 9, by Scholastics, was about the group, the Little Rock 9. This group was fighting for their freedom or their civil rights. They fought for these rights in the city of Little Rock, which is in
Arkansas
on
September 4th, 1957.
this.
This was important because it shows how African Americans fought for their rights.
Awesome, guys. So the